Hello, in this video we will talk about limits. Let's talk about limit of a function and limit laws. So first of all, we will discuss the situation when the function defined by its graph. So here we have function f of x and the graph of a function f of x, which you can see on the right hand side. So the function defined by this graph. So what is the value of function f at 0? So x equals 0 is here on the x-axis. And what is the y-coordinate here? Nothing on the top. And here we have this point. So f at 0 is -2. So we put -2. Be careful because when graph in black and white, like in this case, it's easy to miss this point. So take a good look at the graph, pay attention. So next step, what is the limit of function f of x as x approaches 0? So as x approaches 0 on the left hand side, you can see that the graph approaches this point. And it doesn't matter that the function is not defined at this point, but the graph approaches y value of 0 when x approaches 0 on the left-hand side. But for the limit to exist, it should be the same value on both sides. What happens if x approaches 0 on the right-hand side? The y-coordinates of the points approach 1. So since the limit on the left is 0 and limit on the right as x approaches 0, 1 are not equal, we say this limit does not exist. D and E we can put here. What happens if x approaches -2? Let's talk about this situation. X approaches -2. The graph, the points, and the graph consists of multiple points which our eye cannot distinguish separately one from another. So x approaches -2, close and close, and the points approach this point with y-coordinate -2 as well. So as you can see, the y-coordinate is -2. So that's on the left-hand side. What happens on the right? When x approaches -2 on the right-hand side, we can see that the points approach the same point with y-coordinate -2. Since limit on the left and right are equal, we say it will be -2. But this is not -2 on the x-axis. This is -2 as y-coordinate of this point. Let's move on to the next question. What is f at 3? So we need to find 3 on the x-axis and see what is the value of the function. So the value of the function seems to be not defined. The function is not defined at x equals 3. So does not exist. F at 3 is not defined at x equals 3. What is limit as f of x as x approaches 3? So as x approaches 3 on the left, the points approach on the graph approach this point, and x approaches 3 on the right, the points approach the same point. What is the y-coordinate here? 4. So the limit exists and the limit equals to 4. Now, what is the limit as x approaches -4? Let's see what happens if x approaches -4 on the left. The graph approaches this point. And what happens if x approaches -4 on the right? The graph approaches this point again. So what is the y value for this point? Y coordinate. Y coordinate is 0. So that's why we say since the graph approaches the same point, we just need to know the y coordinate. Hopefully it was helpful. One more limit. This one is not with the graph, but just algebraic limit. So the first thing when you need to figure out what is limit of the expression as x approaches a certain number, in this case pi, you plug in pi into expression. So is this expression finite? Is this expression the value of we can calculate the value of this expression? Let's see. So we replace x by pi, and what we have cosine pi over 2 plus 3 pi. Now the question is, what is cosine pi over 2? Cosine pi over 2 is 0. 0 plus 3 pi leaves you with the answer 3 pi. So the answer to this limit is 3 pi. So when a limit could be evaluated at x equals this number, which is x sub 0 in general, we can say, let's just go ahead and do it. All right. So that was easy. And next time I will explain what to do if you cannot evaluate a limit at the given x sub 0, and usually it happens in rational expressions. So we will look at that later.